All right. Welcome to Houston Oasis. My name is Abhishek Mathur, and I'm one of the board members here at Houston Oasis. We've been meeting in this as a community for over 10 years now, and we are Houston's very own secular community. We have some of our core values behind me here. Some of them I like to mention here. Human hands solve human problems, and reality is known through reason. We have a great program for you today. We have our musical guest, Chelsea Beach. And then we're going to have a community moment from Aaron Laughlin. And then we're going to have a main talk by David Oliverio. Let's first begin with our main talk. Today's main talk is given by David Oliverio, who's a former Pentecostal preacher who became a secular humanist and Houston Oasian. His talk is entitled Embracing Pluralism and Finding Common Ground with Others. He draws on his experience from both sides of the religious fence, where he came to appreciate the commonalities of humanity. With no further ado, David Oliverio. Thank you.
All right, good to see everybody this morning. Boy, exciting times here at Oasis. Oh, I'm sorry. Very exciting times here at Oasis, and I had no idea about the move next week. That's great. And I wanted you to know, most of you are not aware of this, but Christine and I have been directly and indirectly involved with the Oasis movement for a number of years, and we just recently moved here to Houston. We moved here about 2 months ago, and a lot of people have mentioned to me, why would you move from Austin, Texas, to Houston? We like Houston. I've always liked Houston. And most importantly, the reason we came here is for a change. I was very involved. Some of you know what I've done through the years for the secular communities. I was very involved with all the various secular groups in Austin, but we just wanted a change. And we found a wonderful group of people. I love what I see here, especially when we break down for just chatting and getting to know each other. Doesn't that just prove that people are social by nature, find meaning in relationships? We need each other. It's such a good feeling to meet some wonderful, wonderful people. I heard from my friend Fred, who's here. He said, David, are you going to speak in tongues for everybody today? No tongues. I'm sorry, folks. No tongues. All right. You've seen the title, Pluralism, Coexistence with Other People. And today, the first thing I want to mention is this talk today. We've got to understand, we're a bunch of free thinkers. We form opinions based on reason, independently of authority, right? We don't want somebody up here telling us how to think, what to do. This is not dogma. This is not a new religion of humanism. But what it is, these are learned experiences and opinions. I think most of us here have our own opinions. The old saying is, opinions are like, and I will use a euphemism, opinions are like armpits. We all have them, but some of them stink, right? So understand, these are just my opinions. As free thinkers, right, we like to shoot off our opinions. It's okay to disagree. We don't, I'm going to segue into my message. We don't cut off relationships. We don't hate other people. We don't split communities. Not just churches, but made a lot of mistakes. I'm wrong a lot, but sometimes I'm right. I've learned a lot. Other people from different worldviews, other people from a different dietary plan, a different Republican versus Democratic Party, religion versus secularism. Nobody, I've learned the hard way, made a lot of mistakes out there. Nobody will listen to you, to your views. Nobody's going to listen to your policies if they feel, now this is very important, if they feel threatened or attacked. Nobody's going to listen. They're going to shut you down. Now, I hear a lot of religion bashing. I don't hear a lot of it here, thankfully. I've been involved in the secular movement for many years, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of bashing with the others or the outsiders. Xenophobism. I know we're tribal apes. I know that. It's easy for us to get into our little groups. We got to remember that we're all human, and that's what I want to discuss today. My greatest teacher in life is personal experience. I don't have a college degree. As most of you know, I was raised in, my dad was a Pentecostal pastor. My brother and I started preaching back in the 70s. We did all that. We were raised to really not pursue reason, but it was more just Jesus and God. But my greatest teacher was not getting a college degree, which is all good. My wife, Christine, has a college degree. My two late 30-something-year-old children have degrees. Many people here do. I love that. That's great. I'm an avid reader myself. But most of my lessons in life came from personal experience being, and I should have titled this today, being out of one's bubble. Any Seinfeld fanatics here? The show Seinfeld? I can't get enough of it. Remember the Bubble Boy? The Bubble Boy episode, right? We have these confirmation bias bubbles that many of us are prone to do, right? The echo chamber bubble, if you will. Everybody does it. We can't just point our fingers at religious people or Republicans or vegans. We all do that. But being out of the bubble taught me a lot of things about humanity, about finding common grounds and the shared commonalities of humanity. Now, oh man, you're going to see my real passion in this, because I'm kind of a softie, I want to warn you. I write music, I play piano, hopefully I'm teaching myself how to sing. One of these days I'll get to perform my songs. But if you hear the songs and my talks, you're going to hear a lot of passion in this. And I guess I could blame my Italian roots, and my grandparents are saying, hey, David, eat your pasta. You're too skinny. Maybe it's my Italian roots or all the olive oil and pasta I used to eat as a child that gives me this drive and this passion. So I started being out of my bubble after I left Christianity back in 1989, 1990. But it started back in about 10, 15 years ago when I started doing the things that some of you know I've done for years. Going out with signs on the weekend, normalizing secularism, passing out literature for all the groups, feeding the homeless people on Saturday mornings. I did my Preaching Humanist show at the Atheist Community of Austin for many years. Tabling, I used to take teams with me to Georgetown Market Days, set up tables out of my bubble, talking to people right next to me in booths from Christian churches, learning to find common ground with people. Nobody's ever going to listen to you and your view unless they like you and they trust you. I have learned that. I used to take teams with me to the state capitol with our signs, San Antonio, Alamo. But most of that's irrelevant to you all. Very few people here would ever want to do what this crazy guy did for years, being out there taking some abuse. Oh yeah. Never wanted to tell Christine, but I was threatened many times. I've had trash thrown at me a couple times. But it does occur. But the true story is, the majority of people that I talked to out there were very kind. I don't know how many Christians came up to me and hugged me and said they appreciate me being out there trying to normalize it. Just say we're all human. Let's love each other. Let's not look at all the differences. My greatest lesson about this coexistence with people from other worldviews came from my in-home personal training. I've been in the fitness realm for many years. After I quit preaching 30-something years ago, 40-something years ago, whatever it was, I had to do something, right? So I had a personal training business, and I just retired last summer. I told my clients, bye, y'all. I don't want to work anymore. It was a wonderful business I had. I used to go into my clients' homes, into their bubble. Many of my clients were older, and the majority of them were either very conservative Republicans, very Christian. I've also had fellow secularists, fellow liberals, all kinds of people. Now let me tell you about Beverly. Beverly was a 70-something-year-old lady, one of my favorite clients. We trained together for 5 years until COVID. And Beverly understood that she was allowing a personal trainer who was a non-believer. She knew about me from her neighbor. She heard about me. That's how I got her as a new client, referrals. She wasn't real happy about me being an atheist, a secular humanist, a non-believer. But she hired me anyways. Beverly started out in not a very good relationship. She wasn't happy with me being secular, but she hired me anyways. Long story short, I used her as a case study. It started out tough. A few months later, she started opening up to me, and I just loved her. I was just kind. I treated her with respect because she was a sweet lady. We just had different views on politics and religion. And what did we talk about, David? What do you talk to somebody about when you find common ground, the commonalities of humanity that are abundant and plentiful if we just look for them? We talked about our kids and our grandkids. We talked about the weather. We talked about sports. We talked about things that she liked to do. Everything pretty much but religion and politics. She told me one day when I was standing over her, I used to stretch my clients after the workout. And I'd say, Beverly, did you stretch today? She goes, no. And I'd say, bad client. You're grounded, young lady. I used to have a lot of fun with my clients. Just having fun. She looked up at me as she was lying on her back, and I was stretching her hamstrings. Those of you people that understand stretching and fitness, right? And she said, David, we need to talk. I said, oh, okay. I'll sit down. She goes, I think I owe you an apology. I started out very rude to you a few months ago, but I've learned to love you as a human being in spite of our differences. Now, did I change her mind? Did I attempt to deconstruct her faith in God? Evangelical Christian. No, I didn't. I knew she wouldn't change. She knows I'm not going to change. Well, we found those commonalities in humanity. Now, one of the many songs that I've written through the years, when I ever teach myself how to sing, I'll perform it hopefully here one day, it's called Common Ground. And I'll quote it real quick. You and I don't see eye to eye. How do we live with our differences? You see red, I see blue. Let's find common ground. Key of G, C, D7, boogie woogie, kind of the baby boomer boogie woogie blues, I call it. I have a lot of songs like that. The chorus, we share our humanity, similar in so many ways. Let us attempt to live together to make the world more peaceful every day. Second verse, the differences are clear. We will not adhere to each other's philosophy. You turn right, I turn left. Let's just try to find common ground. I've done it with so many clients. I was a personal trainer for 16 years until last year. Hundreds of stories for you. I can only pick a few. Now, I didn't try to change your mind. But I'll tell you what I changed. I've changed a lot of hardcore believers and hardcore conservative people on the right. I wasn't trying to change their mind. I'm a free thinker. I want people to think for themselves. Believers, why not? It's their mind. I believe in autonomy and free inquiry. But I tell you what I changed. Her perception of a secular person. She had no idea. Many of my clients told me through the years, David, I've never had anybody like you in my home. I got to know their parents, their children, their grandchildren, their neighbors would all come over. I would eat their food. I would play with their dogs and cats, and I was like part of the family. When you spend 2, 3, 4 hours a week in somebody else's home with polar opposite worldviews, we just learn to be kind and love each other, even in spite of our differences. Let me tell you about Vicky and Tanya. Vicky, 50-something-year-old woman, a white lady, her husband. Tanya, and we love stories like this. I love stories like this. Most everybody's going to love to hear this. Tanya, her best friend since they were like 12 years old, a black lady. Their husbands would meet me, of course, in her home to train them every Tuesday and Thursday night at 5 o'clock. The guys would show up. The guys were big old boys, right? They were in the other room eating their pizza, drinking their Cokes and watching sports, while me and the ladies were in the back room, the converted gymnasium in the back of their home. Now, the reason I'm telling you about Vicky and Tanya, they were like sisters. One was white, one was black. They loved each other. And they said, David, you're going to learn to get along with us because we fight like sisters and then we love each other. But they and their husbands, all 4 of them, were full-time door knockers. What's a full-time door knocker? Jehovah's Witnesses. I developed great relationships with people who were Jehovah's Witnesses. Their husbands would help me carry clothing and non-perishable food to the trunk of my car because they knew I was going out that Saturday morning to give it to the homeless people. They knew I was a non-believer. They knew I did public speaking in humanist communities. They knew I used to be a Christian preacher. We found common ground. Vicky told me last year we were still doing Zoom training. They still felt uncomfortable because most of my clients welcomed me back in the home. They didn't need to wear the mask anymore about a year ago, whatever. And both of them said to me, David, we have learned to love you the last 12 years. We feel like you're a part of the family. I wasn't there to change their minds. You could bring a horse to the water, you can't make it drink. I can give you my take on arguing with faith, my opinion. Some of you may disagree, just be nice. If you disagree, it's okay. Christine and I don't get divorced if we disagree on something, right? But I'll save that for some other time. Maybe my take on that. And I forgot to mention this. I'm not talking about contingencies today. I understand that we do have to push back in some areas. We heard that last week. I do understand that some of you are political activists. We've got to keep church-state separate, no doubt. I understand some of you talk to people of different worldviews and you have debate. I'm not saying don't do that. So please don't misunderstand me and say I've gone to the other extreme. We've got to find a balance here. What I'm trying to promote is something so needed. I was involved with a few of the groups in different cities, that's all I'll say, secular communities. Some were very wonderful, kind people. Some were very toxic. I didn't like that toxicity, that hatred of people that just have a different opinion. Now, I talked about, let me tell you one more story before I get to the most important things before I close, family and friends. Let me tell you about Greg and Diane. Greg and Diane were Methodist libertarians, very faithful to their church. They hired me 12 years. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, Greg and I would train in the back room. Very wealthy people, big home, wonderful people, some of the nicest people you ever meet in your life. They accepted me. They knew where I stood. Very good, very kind people. Diane, the wife, walked into the gym one morning. I'll never forget it. She said, David, I wanted to share this with you. I've known you for 10, 12 years. I feel like you're part of the family. But I don't care. This is what she said. I don't care what you believe or don't believe. I know what you do. I've heard about your little preaching humanist show, and I know what you do. She goes, because I don't care that you don't believe like me. What I care about is that you just do good and you treat people good. And I was, wow. So in other words, Diane judged me, and her opinion of me was not based upon beliefs. Right there. Number one, people are more important than beliefs. Her judgment of me and her opinion of me was not based on the fact that I didn't believe in anything supernatural. But rather, she judged me by my personal character, and by my actions, and how my actions affect other people. I like that. And I can learn from that. I have learned from that. It doesn't mean we don't have differences. It doesn't mean we still don't push back when they try to approach our government with their beliefs, public schools. I understand all that. Now, let's make it really relevant to most of you here today. How about family and friends? Denise and Scott. Denise and Scott are Donald Trump Republicans. I'm looking at some of the reaction in y'all's faces. Some of y'all are going, "Arr." No, I haven't seen any. Most people are smiling. That's good. Denise and Scott are evangelical Christians. They're in their early 60s, not too far behind me. Denise is my little sister. One of the sweetest, kindest people you'll ever meet. Right, Christine? Her husband, Scott, is a Southern Baptist. Tim, you'll appreciate this. Southern Baptist missionary son who married my little sister, a Pentecostal pastor's daughter. We, before we moved here just a couple months ago, used to meet with Scott and Denise for dinner. And I'm going to tell you something. We loved each other. My little sister loves me and I love her. We talk every week on Zoom, on FaceTime. She told me about her little church they joined and how they believe in the plurality of leadership. They're tired of authoritarianism, of one-man government, and they want plurality. We found common ground with all this. And she was telling me how the structure for a church is, and it's like, it sounds like this. But yet they still believe, and we have differences. When we get together, we don't talk about religion or politics. We love each other. Now, the difference is, which I've learned for many years, because I used to be one of those button-pushing secular people. I used to go out because I had issues. I was angry. Some of you have heard me talk about this before. And I would try to push other people's buttons. But the difference I found is, when it comes right down to it, and I've discussed this with some of my clients and believers through the years, or political differences, or whatever the differences are, that if we're still doing the same thing, if we're loving people, the compassion, the kindness, the empathy, the sympathy, the caring, sharing, ethics and morals, we're doing most everything the same as many believers do. Why is that? I mean, we know because we're all human, right? The difference, and I've explained this to a couple of pretty angry believers before, and I said, look, if we're doing the same thing, why does it matter where this derives from? A believer would say this compassion and love and kindness and so forth derives from a higher power. Okay. I say, most of us here that are secular would say it comes from nature. But we're doing the same thing. And I asked one of these very angry people, why does it bother you that I don't believe like you if I'm doing everything you're doing, just saying it's not from a higher power? And that person actually said, thank you, I've never thought of it that way. It's very simple, but some people don't think about that. My children, my daughter's 38 years old. I would check, do I have a few minutes? You didn't hear me. Okay, I think I did. I'm trying to respect the 30 minutes. I got a few more minutes? Okay. My children, my daughter's 38 years old, my son's 36, both Christians. My daughter is a very progressive liberal Christian. She votes for pro-choice. We know those type of believers, right? We collaborate with a lot of things. My son is 36, single. You young ladies, keep your hands off of my boy. He's a good-looking boy. He was here in Houston on business this week. He's a Christian. We've discussed things about religion and politics because we love each other. And I want to share one more thing about this, because my son and I had him on my show a couple of years ago. I interviewed him. We had a talk on my Preaching Humanist show, an interview. Long story short, Thanksgiving about 2 years ago at Scott and Denise's house. Usually there are about 15 to 20 Southern Baptists and Donald Trump people there. Christine and I have gone over there for years. They love us. We have a good time. Accept people. Now, after I did that video with my son, it was posted on my YouTube show, The Preaching Humanist, back then, 2-3 years ago. Scott, my brother-in-law's mother, Southern Baptist pastor's wife, walked up to me at our little Thanksgiving reunion. Sweet little lady from East Texas. She sounds just like that. I love that drawl. She grabbed my hand, looked up at me. She said, David, I want you to know, I saw the video of you and Jordan, my son Jordan. I went, wow, Beth, I didn't know you knew I had a Preaching Humanist show. She goes, yeah, I know what you do. I went, uh-oh. And she goes, she put her hands on her heart. You know how these people talk sometimes. She said, David, it touched my heart to see you and your son just love each other and talk about things together and share ideas. She said, I have never seen anything so beautiful in my life. And this came from a Southern Baptist missionary's wife. Now, I'm going to end with this. All right. I've never talked about this in public much, but my parents, this is 2021, they died of COVID within 9 days of each other. They were 90 years old. They could have lived much longer. My dad and I had confrontations, even back when I used to preach with him. When I was 19 years old, we always fought about everything. Now, he disowned me. Some of you know my story. He disowned me in 2018. When he discovered that I do what I'm doing now. I wrote a song about that, Disowned. It is what it is. Good news, very good news. Not that he died. I'll get to that in a moment real quick. The good news is that I reconciled the relationship. I called him. Said, Dad, it's been 2 years. This is in 2020. Let's just put aside our differences. You're my father. I love you. In 2021, my mother died first. I was unable, I wrote a song about her too. The greatest love on earth. No greater love on earth is a mother's love. Right? I mean, come on. Can't beat a mama's love. I wrote it about my mother. She was a sweetie. 9 days later, my dad died, 90 years old. Thankfully, I reconciled our relationship. Now, in November of 2021, Denise, my little sister, organized a memorial service in Georgetown, Texas. Very conservative, very religious, just suburb north of Austin, much like Conroe, the Woodlands here, right? I was one of the speakers. By the way, I spoke for my brother's Pentecostal funeral in Slidell, Louisiana, 2 years prior to that. Here I am again, out of my bubble. Christine and I go to the memorial service in November. About 40 or 50 Southern Baptists, Republicans there, and about 40 or 50 Pentecostals from my dad's church were there for my wonderful parents' memorial service. My daughter Victoria was the first speaker, then me, then my niece Rachel, my sister, and then the Southern Baptist pastor. Christine and I went out of our bubble into someone else's bubble. I didn't go there to fight. I didn't go there to argue like I would have 5-10 years ago. We just went to love on people and to talk about my parents. They were very kind to us. Here's my point, and I'm going to close with this, because I went in there thinking, oh boy, here we go. Some of these people from my dad's church, where I started preaching, where I was raised, my childhood friends, are going to be there. I haven't seen these people in 30, 40 years. They know what I do. They know what I did. Okay. Went in after the little cafeteria lunch. I walked into the main auditorium of the church. Christine was with Denise and some of the others. I walked in all by myself. If you know me, I like to just wander around and look around. I'm thinking, wow, I wish we had something like this in our secular world. Beautiful auditorium. They have everything just wonderful. I walked in and there they were. About 15 or 20 of my old childhood friends when I left Christianity in 1990. I hadn't seen them in 30-something years. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm used to abuse. They're going to be mad at me. They're going to tell me they're praying for me, whatever. Not at all. So I wanted to get their attention. I'm thinking to myself, here we go. They're all about from here to the back where they're sitting. So I did this to get their attention. I stomped real loud. They looked up. I saw them. You ever see these movies where the two lovers haven't seen each other in years? They're on the beach and the sentimental music's playing and the film is in slow motion and they're running to each other and the girl's hair is flowing and they grab each other and they jump up and down, and hug and love. Here we have these people from a complete different worldview. They looked at me and it was almost like that. We came, hugged each other. They said, Dave, it's so good to see you. I didn't hear any God bombs or anything. They were just here to talk about my parents. I spoke. Things went well. Again, I want to recap. Again, if we want people to understand what a secular person is, what do we do? How do we act? Are we monsters like some people say we are? I mean, come on. Get out of your bubble. Let them see. Talk to them. Treat them with respect. One more song I wrote recently, one of my newest ones. A quote from that, and this is it. In the world we see, makes me want to run over the piano and play it, but in the world we see divisiveness, hate. Yeah, I've seen a lot of hate out there, and I'm pretty tired of it. It hurts. Hate between the two worldviews exist. How do we end animosity? How do we build a world of equity? Sounds idealistic. Maybe I'm an idealist, but I remain hopeful. I try to be. How do we end it? The chorus, let love set you free, caring for humanity. Not just me, but we. Let love set you free. Second verse, it's time to put our differences away and just try, at least try, to solve the problems of today. We have one life to live. Let's find joy and meaning to give. And then the chorus, let love set you free. I go into a little instrumental jam, a little boogie woogie. Now I come back. And I have 3 quick verses. Here we are between a rock and hard place, the polarization of the human race. I have been on both sides of the fence. I've worked for both sides of the fence. I am tired of the hatred and the strife. And then verse 2, here we are in this age. Some believe in a judgment day. I've been on both sides of the fence. I'm tired of the hatred and the strife. And the last verse, here we are. What do we do? What do we do about it? What are we going to do? Are we going to continue us against them, adding fuel to the fire of polarization? I'm not a happy camper when I hear people constantly degrading someone else's belief all the time. We're just adding fuel to the fire. So what do? It comes right down to being you. Let love set you free. So we don't change the world, and we don't talk to people and try to change other people's worldviews, but we change the world through kindness and love and finding the commonalities of humanity. Thank you. No altar call, don't worry.
Thanks, David. Thank you for continuing to live our core values, and please feel free to come back and speak to us. But first, we have a community moment from Aaron, and Aaron's been a long-time member of the community, and some of the setup he does in the morning as well. Aaron's going to speak on the Socratic method, please.
Hi. So, what is the Socratic method? It's basically a question trying different answers or solutions to see if they fit. The more options, solutions you have, the better. Some people call this brainstorming. The idea is to find the best solution or answer using what I call troubleshooting techniques. And it's like multiple choice test where you can find the answers and you can guess the answers with the best, where the best answer wins. After the first, so what happens is when you ask the question, you have different solutions and you're trying to find which solution is the best fit to answer that. And there's different techniques. Some of these techniques are what I call paths. And some of these paths fit and some of them don't. The ones that don't fit, I call dead end paths. Or if they don't, I don't always remember which path, the dead end paths. I tend to only remember the ones that fit. It's better to remember the dead end paths than it's kind of like showing your work in math. But anyways, the techniques for picking the best path, there's like different techniques. It's like simplification, probabilities, which is the more probable path. You can select a path that's by simplifying the answer. Sometimes I use what they call analogies, extrapolation, or interpolation, or inverses. You can like the inverse, like for example, if tax breaks for the rich make the economy grow, that means the inverse should be true also. If you want to slow down the economy, you should increase taxes, right, on the rich, which is not true. So that would call that a dead end path, right? It doesn't make sense. So giving rich people tax breaks is not true, right? Because the inverse is not true. Or rather, it may be true, but if that's the case, why are we increasing interest rates to slow down the economy rather than increasing taxes on the rich? So there's just different ways of looking at things and then trying to eliminate the different options, the solutions that you have. So let's start with I'll start with a question. Like, where does knowledge come from? A lot of times I'll define what knowledge is. There's different kinds of knowledge. There's linguistic, artistic, psychological, superstitious, religious, legal, sport knowledge, mythic knowledge, like myths. So we want to isolate which one is the real knowledge. Is it useful knowledge? Is it real? How does it help us? And so you have to figure out what's knowledge, right? So you have to define a word. When you ask a question, you have to define it, and you brainstorm what the different things that could define what this word is, the definition. And then what you have to do is different techniques to try to isolate. I don't remember all. If I was more mathematical, I'd be able to explain more. If I should document some of this stuff that I do. I've done this for over the years since I was a little kid, since a teenager. I think I started thinking about this when I was a teenager. And so I didn't always document stuff of this. But for example, let's try this knowledge. Path one, I would call this path one. Knowledge could be from books or videos, but that's how we generally get our knowledge now. But before the books and videos, it was passed down by word of mouth. And before that, probably cave paintings. But that really doesn't tell us how people figured things out. It doesn't tell us where knowledge comes from. It's just how we get the knowledge from other people. It doesn't tell us how other people got the knowledge. So I cancel that path out. And then the second path, did it come from the Bible or other religious books? So, for example, I would say, so I use questions and ask more questions. So does the Bible show us how food grows, or how to make medicines, or how to predict the weather? Does the Bible show us teach us any math, physics, chemistry, or electricity works? Does it show something simple like how to cook, or how to fix a car, or grow food? No. So that would be another path that I would strike out, another multiple choice answer. I'd cancel that out. So the third path would be so many. Would it come from like science, where people experiment by trial and error? Is that maybe where knowledge comes from, where a person figures out knowledge? That to me sounds like the most reasonable answer. And then once a person learns from trial and error, they pass that knowledge on to someone else. And then that knowledge gets someone else by trial and error finds something else out. And so they have what I call a leapfrog effect, where knowledge increases from one person to another, and every person that learns knowledge and adds onto it. So to me, trial and error is where knowledge comes from, or what I call the scientific method. That seems like the most valid path as far as where knowledge comes from. It doesn't. That's basically what I would consider the Socratic method. And you can turn things around. You can ask, so what else does the scientific method teach us? And you can apply it to different things. If science is the source of humanity's knowledge, where would that be what does it say about God or religion? Well, it would, if you look at the scientific method, science could be also considered how you separate what's real and what's not real by experimentation, by trial and error. So according to science, they haven't been able to find a God to actually experiment on or test. So therefore, it would be a hypothesis. It hasn't been proven yet. And the same with like maybe communism would not be, it's also another hypothesis. It hasn't been proven. Several different societies, Asian, Latin, I guess you could, or Slavic, I guess you could say. It's also communism has not been proven either by trial and error. Several different societies have tried it. It's not proven. So that's what the Socratic method would say about different things, and you can apply it to economics, politics. You can apply it to technology. A lot of people only use science on technology. We don't apply it to politics and sociology. We should be. We are kind of applying it to sociology to a certain degree, like evolutionary psychology. It's being applied to evolutionary psychology. So there's a lot of ins and outs with the use of the Socratic method. I think it's one of the more important sources of our knowledge. For example, before you even do an experiment, you have to think about what is the experiment. These are Socratic questions. What experiment are you going to conduct? How are you going to conduct it? What if it doesn't prove what I'm looking for? Can we do another experiment? How do we modify it? And there's different ways of doing this. Yeah. And so when people say scientific method, I think they're also including, without realizing, the Socratic method is the question. Science is the answer to the question or the proof to the question. They include the Socratic method without even realizing it. And that's super duper important, that you include science in your, Socratic method in your science, and it has to be formally in our school part of our school teaching. Anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about.
Thanks, Aaron. That was great. And if you'd like to give a community moment, please send an email to speak@houstonoasis.org or contact one of our speakers team. Terry's back there, I see, and we have Jake as well. If you want to sign up for a community moment, which is a short 10-minute presentation by the community members, please go to the back and sign up. Before we break for coffee, I'd like to bring up Alexis, who's the president of the board of directors, for a short announcement.
And by short announcement, he meant because I'm short. No, I'm kidding. All right, so we are very excited. We've been very happy here at Baker Ripley for, I think, about close to 5 years now. 6 years? 6 years. We're very excited, though, to announce that we are actually going to be moving to the Montrose Center. This opens up a lot of possibilities for us. We get a room for kids again. We'll have shaded areas so that on days that aren't raining, we can see the PowerPoint a lot better. This is a more central hub, so people on the north side, south side have an easier time getting to us as well. So we're very excited about this move. It has elevator access, great parking. We're all very excited. It is happening very fast, though. So next Sunday, yeah, we're going now. No. Next Sunday, we will be meeting at the Montrose Center. So we will not be here. We'll be there. Great question. It's in the bulletin. 401 Brennard Street. So it's right off of that spur that leaves 59, a little off of 45. Pretty easy to get to. We are going to put out directions. So look for that in the email, Facebook. That will be coming also if you need more direct turn-by-turn directions. And yeah, we're very, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, we will need volunteers to help us set up and break down. One of the trade-offs is that we will not have a porter here or porter there like we do here. So this is like we were at the Tracy G. So we'd love it if we could also get some people to come early to help set up chairs or stay late, put the chairs away. But again, this is really exciting. It opens up a lot of opportunities for us and we're very excited about it. Yes. 9 a.m. is when we've got the space. So between 10:30 and 9 a.m. Yes. Kids room, we will have it. It is right down the hall from the space, like 2 doors down. We still need to verify that we're going to have people there for the room. But if it's not next weekend, it will be the weekend after that. And we will put that in the email as well. Yes. No. I will put out twice. I will send it out more than just the usual weekly one. Say that one more time. Oh, and we will be posting it on social media too. Stephen. Yeah. And opens up some other possibilities for us. Yes. For the foreseeable future, yes. So Meetup still says it. We haven't changed it yet because we didn't want to surprise people with confusion before we announced it here. Yeah. So expect to see that change happening very soon.
As our musician Chelsea sets up for her last song, I'd like to call up Richard Andrews, our treasurer, to give a short speech.
Don't worry, this will be short, unless you're a millionaire, in which case I want to have a long conversation with you. But don't forget, we have a black hat in the back. You can drop a little love in. Some of you have already done that. And we have a QR code. I think the one on the back of the bulletin is the one that, that makes it easy if you're able to part with a couple dollars. And if you're not able to, don't worry about it. We just love having you here. Thank you.
So lunch today is at Busy Boy Restaurant on Hillcroft. Please feel free to come over and join the conversation and continue it. And you can talk to our speakers today. Thank you to David Oliverio and Aaron for giving the talks today, and Chelsea Beach for excellent music. We will be back next week, but please remember to go to the Montrose Center, not here, the Montrose Center, and the address is on your bulletins here or on social media as well. We're posting them as we speak, and we'll send them out. We'll send out reminders as well during the week. We promise not to spam you, but we will send out reminders. Don't worry. Thank you.
Ain't nobody trying to convince you that you're wrong. Tried too many times, now I feel better on my own. Hopelessly and systematic, tearing me apart. Trip around the world just to break my busted heart. Cause you're a cool boy, a rude boy. Don't kill my mood, but I leave well enough alone. Yeah, you're a cool boy, a rude boy. Can't speak the truth, but speak game just to take them home. Sorry's coming at me, so I'm sure that you're all these people. Gotta wonder why I can't leave you alone. Shocked to find that 2 weeks later you're not on your own. You say she's on the phone, and I better hit the road. Cause you're a cool boy, a rude boy. Don't kill my mood, but I leave well enough alone. Yeah, you're a cool boy, a rude boy. Can't speak the truth, but speak game just to take them home. Strike me and fall easy, baby. Don't be surprised, I ain't waiting. You can say that I'm insane. Could've kissed your friends just to rub your face in it all.